But this affordability crisis is real. And, even in my conversations with the governor and the Senate Majority Leader, I like to remind them that as much as we keep, there's this debate about who is leaving New York and why we have such an out-migration, even though it's slowed down. COVID had a lot to do with the out-migration. People don't want to, when crime went up, it was really due to the pandemic, but people try to find other reasons, political reasons, to place the blame. But I am absolutely concerned that the biggest flight from this state has been black people. And if most of us are Democrats in this room, now there's a 96% chance that black person that left New York was gonna vote Democrat. And so we want to continue to have our political leverage as a party in this state. This state isn't as blue as people think. It's 62 counties, but only about 12 are run by Democrats, and that's including the 5 here in the city of New York. So this map is a whole lot of red. There's some parts of the state that's Kentucky. This affordability crisis is absolutely real. I remember it was a New York Times article, and it talked about, and y'all can look this article up, and I believe I have it correct, but I might be a little wrong. It's like playing a telephone game. After it's told a few times, it changes. That it was a black family, husband and wife, and they had 3 kids, and they had a 1-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and they turned their living room into a bedroom for their kids. And this same family now lives in Atlanta, got a half-acre house with 5 bedrooms. And this is the problem that we're having here in New York. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We do need to increase our housing stock. We have a very low vacancy rate, and you don't have to have one of my math degrees to know that we have a very low vacancy rate. That will cause an inflationary and almost an auctionary, let's say, effect on the cost of rent. So we absolutely have to do that. And then Mark mentioned as well, we've raised the minimum wage here in New York. We were the first to go to 15, and we raised it, and we've actually indexed it to inflation, and there's also talk about doing that. What's so important about the increasing of the minimum wage is, it's the old saying, when the water level rises, all boats rise, and we need to have that. And it's a shame that the national minimum wage hasn't been increased. And, if not for some of the blue states in this nation, we wouldn't see any increase in the minimum wage. But also with this discussion of affordability, particularly for the communities of color, the lack of home ownership is a problem. It's a huge problem. A few years ago in the budget, we put forward funding to help families that could afford a mortgage with their income, but didn't have the down payment on the closing costs. And so we will probably do that, not even probably, we are going to fund that program again this year. When I had a little more time before I was speaking, even when I first got elected speaker, I was an adjunct professor, and I would teach intro to finance. And I would tell my students, the minute you are paying more than 30% of your income towards housing, you are on a quick path to being in financial distress. And in this city, in the state, because it's not even just a problem in the city of New York, but it's a problem all across the state. Too many families are paying too much of their income towards housing. And so, we've made a pledge in the assembly that we will not see any tuition increases for the public colleges. So we've stuck that. So much so that the governor, in our budget, has done, it's not even gonna have to be a legislative fight this year. The governor has put it in her executive budget that we won't see any tuition increases in college.